All right. One little part of this teaching is a continuation from last week. The rest of it is two things. It's continuation of talking about fighting, because it is the month to fight. Heshvan and Kislev and Tevet and Shavat and into Adar is the month to fight. The months to fight. We need to learn how to fight. And mostly that fighting is done with our mouth. Done with two things. Done with our mouth, and it's done with our brain, our thoughts. So, because we're moving toward Hanukkah, we are obviously going to look at and talk about and think about the difference between Judaism and Hellenism, because this is the month to do that. And in the Torah portion, I saw something I have never seen before. It's so simple. And it's just a simple Hebrew word. And I never knew it. Never knew this Hebrew word because I wasn't raised with Hebrew. And it's real simple. But to get there, we have to walk up to it very carefully. So, the teaching is a bridge or a stairway. These are not my words. These are words from an article that we're going to read a portion of from the Chabad website. I stumbled across this article and I was like, wow! You know what it said? It said the answer for the world is pictures. It said the answer for the world for personal change is pictures, symbols. I didn't know that in Hebrew. It was just a simple Hebrew word. And I'm like, how did you get that out of this Torah portion? So I, figured out how it came out of this Torah portion. That's what I'm going to show you. So this is not directly from me. This is from some woman who wrote for the Chabad website. I added to it and, ruffled it up a little bit, but this is not from me. This is from somebody else. A bridge or a stairway. So we're in Bereshit 28, 10 through 22. We're going to read this story. We're going to review something we've already looked at several times and go deeper into it. Then Jacob went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran. And he fell upon the place. That's the first time Makom shows up in the passage. But it says Ba Makom, in the place, in. He fell upon in the place. I don't know how you translate that into English. I tried and tried and tried, but this is the closest I could get. He fell upon the place and spent the night there because the sun had set. And he took up of the stones of Hamakom, the place, that's two, and made it a support for his head. And he lay down in the Makom, in the place, that's three, Ba Makom. And he had a dream, and behold, a ladder was set up on the earth with its top reaching to the heavens, or to heaven, either one. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. Then behold, the Lord was standing over it, but it doesn't say that. It says alav, which is literally on it. So he's somehow on the ladder. God is standing on the ladder, I guess on the top of it, which is in heaven. And remember, this is a dream. It's not real. He's dreaming. So he can be in more than one place at a time, because it's a dream. The Lord was standing on it and said, I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham, the God of Yitzchak. The land on which you lie I will give to you and to your seed. So he is leaving the land. Listen, Abraham never left the land. After the first famine, he went to Egypt for a little bit, but he never left the land his whole life after that. Isaac never left the land his entire life. Never. This is the first patriarch who's actually leaving Israel. And guess what his name is? Israel. His name is going to be Israel. He's the only patriarch to have left the land of Israel. That's why the name of the Torah portion is what it is. Vayetzei, and he went out. The Jews reading this go, what? Jacob, why are you leaving the land? It's your promise. But he's leaving. And he's leaving because his mommy told him to. And his mommy told him to because his brother was going to kill him. Edom, his twin brother, was going to kill him. And so Jacob said, what do I do? I've been studying Torah my whole life in the tents of Shem. My whole life. And now, Mommy, you're telling me to get out of Israel? Isn't this our promise? Go. And so he says, okay, I'll go. And he leaves and he goes, and on his way north, out of Israel, to leave the land of promise, he has this dream, and God says to him in the dream, the land on which you lie I will give to you and to your seed. So he knows he's okay, right? He knows he's okay. He knows he's going to come back. He knows God's going to bring him back and give him this land to his children. He has no children. Do you know how old he is? Anybody know how old he is? 60. Very good. He's 60. He's an old man. Well, he's like me. He's like an old man like me. And he's leaving Israel. That bothers you, huh? So he's going to Israel, out of Israel, and God promises him he's going to have children, and promises him that the children are going to have this land. So he knows he's okay. He knows he's coming back. The seed will also be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west, to the east, to the north, and to the south. And in you and in your seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. So this is huge. He knows he's going to be okay, and God's given this same enormous worldwide promise that God gave to Abraham and to Yitzchak. He's going to be all right. Behold, I'm with you. He's going to be okay. And we'll keep you. He's going to be okay wherever you go. And we'll bring you back to this land. So now he's just straight up tells them, don't worry, I'm bringing you back here. Yetzei, go out. It's okay. Now, I don't think he was supposed to be gone for 22 years. I don't think. You know why I say that? Because his son, Yosef, was sold into slavery to Egypt for how long? 22 years. The same exact amount of time. So maybe if he'd have been gone for 14 years, his son would have only been gone for 14 years. I don't know. But he knows he's coming back. He knows God's going to bring him back. He knows he's going to be okay. He knows that he's going out of Israel, but it doesn't say how long or what's going to happen. That's kind of up to Jacob. I'm with you. I'll keep you wherever you go. I'll bring you back to this land. I'm not going to leave you until I've done everything I've promised. Then Yaakov wakes up from sleep. And he says, the Lord is certainly in Bamakom Hazeh, in this place. How many times is that? 4, right. 4 times now. I did not know it. He was afraid, and he said, how awesome is the place. Norah HaMakom, 5. This is none other than Beit Elohim, the house of God. And this, HaMakom, this spot, this place, is the Sha'ar HaShamayim. 6 times. 6 times. He said, HaMakom. Right? So Yaakov got up early in the morning and took the stone that he'd placed under his head and set it. I thought it said he took of the stones, plural, of the place. Now, there's a lot of stories in the Midrashim that say that all the stones were fighting to be under Jacob's head. And so God said, oh, stop with your yakking. So he makes them all into one stone. And they are the Matot Yisrael. They're the tribes of Israel. These stones are the tribes of Israel. So God unifies them and turns them into one stone. And he takes that one stone that's a conglomeration of all the tribes, which do not exist yet, remember. He hasn't had any kids yet. And he sets it up and he anoints it with olive oil as a Mashiach. He mashachs it. He anoints it with oil, turns it into the Messiah. So Yaakov got up early in the morning, took the stone that he had placed under his head, set it up as a memorial stone, poured oil on its top, then he named the place Beit El, house of God. But Now, this is in the Bible for a reason. But previously, the name of the city had been Luz. It does not mean light. That's Spanish. So it's going to be hard for you to switch gears here to go from Spanish to Hebrew. It means an almond. Luz means an almond. Single almond. And almonds are very, very important because in Hebrew, the tree itself is called shaked, which means wake up. Because it's the very first tree to wake up in spring. It's the very first tree to blossom. And in Ezekiel, or Jeremiah, in Jeremiah, God says, shaked. And Jeremiah goes, why are you saying almond tree? And he says, because I am shaked. I'm quick to send my ruach and my Torah. So it's a very, very important word. This is not here, just like, and previously it was called Luz. This is very important. This place, Hamakom, was previously called the almond, the wake-up fruit, if you will, the wake-up fruit. By the way, the rabbis say that the resurrection begins with the coccyx. You know how you say coccyx in Hebrew? Luz. Because it looks like an almond. It's like, got that thin almond shape, a coccyx bone. That's how you say coccyx in Hebrew. And so the rabbis, because what do we yell at what's God going to yell at the resurrection? Wake up! Shaked. And so the fruit of the shaked tree, God stuck in, you're going to love this, God stuck that in our butt. And so when we resurrect, I know it sounds weird, but we resurrect butt first. Like a breech baby. Isn't that odd? It's like backwards. You came into the world backwards. You're going to go out of the world backwards. And so we're going to resurrect first with the coccyx bone. This is what the rabbis say. You can take it or leave it. I prefer to say that's a beautiful, beautiful picture. Because shaked and Luz are the same tree. They're the same animal. The resurrection tree. All right. So he says to him, this is Sha'ar Hashamayim, the gate of heaven. Please do not picture a big swinging iron gate. That is not a gate in Hebrew. A gate, yes, erase. That's right. So a sha'ar is a big room, not this big, maybe a quarter this big to a half this big, but it's a room where judgments are made. When you first come into the city, you pass through that gate, and on either side are thrones where the elders sit to make judgments about business and every other thing. That's a gate. And he says, this is the gate of heaven. And what is this place? Hamakom. He said it 6 times. This is Hamakom. All right? All right, that's good enough for that. Now, these are the things that happened at Hamakom previously. Number 1, well, first, these are the times he says it. I fell upon the place, Bamakom, the stones of the place, Hamakom. Lay down in the place, Bamakom. The Lord is certainly in this place, and that's the big one. The Lord is certainly in this place. What place? Hamakom. How awesome is this place? Norah Hamakom. But the why? Because the Lord is certainly in this place. Now, there are things that had happened before Hamakom. Before Jacob came to Hamakom. Genesis 22, about the Akedah, this happened at Hamakom, and it says it. It tells us more than once. Now, it came about after these things that God tested Abraham. Take now your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah. Say Moriah. Moriah. Go to the land of Moriah. Not the Mount Moriah, the land of Moriah. And offer him there. So Abraham got up, went to Hamakom. He went to Hamakom. Why did he go to Hamakom? Because God told him to go to the land of Moriah. And so he went to Hamakom. That is Hamakom. So what you're going to see is Hamakom equals Moriah. They are different titles for the same place. Just like Luz is a different title of Moriah and Hamakom. They're all the same place. So then he says it again. It says he went to Hamakom, of which God had told him. On the third day, Abraham raised his eyes and saw Hamakom way, way off in the distance. Now this is prophetic. If he raised his eyes to look into the distance, it doesn't mean distance as far as space, it means distance as far as time. So he looked into the future, way into the future, and saw Hamakom. He raised his eyes, right? Then it says, Isaac spoke to his father Abraham and said, where's the lamb, the seh, for the olah, the burnt offering? And Abraham said, God will provide himself. But the Hebrew doesn't say provide. It says yireh lo, see himself. Ra'ah, re, means to see. That's all it means, to perceive or to see. A prophet, one of the words for prophet is roeh, same word. One of the words for shepherd is roeh, same word, yes. Lo is him, to him, or no. God will provide himself, yireh lo, or see himself, the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. And and then it says Abraham named the place that, what God said. God said, I'm going to yireh myself. I'm going to see myself. I'm going to provide myself. You can sort of translate it, provide. And so Abraham named the place Adonai Yireh. The Lord provide, the Lord see. The Lord will see, the Lord will provide. Why would he name it Yireh? Because it's already named that. What's the name of the place? Moreh. It's already named Yireh. Ore, Yireh, Ara, Ra'ah. All these different words for to see. It's already named that. And God said, I want you to go to the land of Moriah. And so he goes to Hamakom, and he says, now I'm going to give it another name. Now I'm going to call it Adonai Yireh. The Lord will see, or the Lord will provide. And the word Moreh means this. Oh, by the way, this is real important. So Abraham said, I'm going to name it Adonai Yireh. Why? Because on the mountain of the Lord it will be provided or seen. On the mountain of the Lord. On the mountain of the Lord? On the mountain of the Lord. There is no mountain of the Lord yet. Is there? We're talking about Abraham. What mountain of the Lord could there possibly be?
He saw into the future.
He saw into the future, right. There is no mountain of the Lord yet. And he says, in the mountain of the Lord, it will be in the future seen. So then comes the next generation, Jacob, because he's there with Yitzhak. Comes the next generation, Jacob, and Jacob goes to the same place, and he sees it. He sees it. He sees a ladder going up to heaven, which means he sees the temple and the altar. Yes? Who never climbed? Well, he had to go up the mountain. It's a low mountain, but he had to go up it, but that's it. That's it. I was thinking about this, like how low the mountain of Moriah was then. It's like lower than Scenic Drive, the place where we go up Scenic Drive when we stop. It's lower than that. But it's called Hahar, the mountain. Why? Because it's not that. It's a picture of the mountain in heaven. So the word Moreh from Ra'ah, Re'ah, Ro'eh, they all mean the same thing. To see, to behold, to have a vision. Now, Jacob's asleep, isn't he? And he dreams, and he sees a vision. Abraham saw this vision while he was awake. But they're still both a vision. So now we start seeing the specificity of what happened at Hamakom and why. So the verse we're looking at is how awesome is this place. Nora Hamakom. How amazing, how terrifying, how heavy is this place, is Hamakom. Why? Because it ain't this place. It is this place, but it's another place in heaven. 2 Chronicles 3:1 comes right out and tells us that this is Hamakom, where the temple would be built. And it wasn't shown to Solomon, it was shown to his father David. David is the one who saw this, not Solomon. Solomon began to build the house of the Lord in Jerusalem on Mount Moriah, on the mountain where it is seen. So we have Abraham offering Isaac at Mount Moriah. We have Jacob laying down at Mount Moriah. And now we have that the temple is going to be built on Mount Moriah. What does Jacob call the place? Beit El, house of God. Right? Because that's where the temple is going to be built. How did he know that? Because he saw it in a vision. When he was asleep, he saw into the future that that's where God's house is going to be. So that's where God's house is. It's Jerusalem. Even all the way back then. Yes. In the what? Yes, that's exactly where the temple is going to be when the kingdom comes. Because that's where the tabernacle was, that's where the first temple was, that's where the second temple was, so that's where the third temple is going to be. God just keeps repeating picture on top of picture the same. So he says, Solomon began to build the house of the Lord on Mount Moriah, where the Lord had appeared to his father David at Hamakom. So now we know for sure Hamakom equals Mount Moriah. Mount Moriah is where the temple is going to be built. Now, the reason I'm harping on this is because if you look up on the internet, this is what the Judaism teaches. It is our tradition that Jacob laid on Mount Moriah. And that's all they say. They don't give you scripture to prove it. Well, here's the scripture to prove it. David had prepared at Hamakom. Then Solomon began to build the house of the Lord in Jerusalem on Mount Moriah, says it twice, in case you missed it, where the Lord had appeared to his father David at Hamakom. David had prepared on the threshing floor of Ornan. Says the same thing twice in one verse. The same exact wording, twice. Now, 1 Chronicles 21 is where I have this here so that you can see where David saw at Mount Moriah to build the temple. The angel of the Lord told God to say to David that David was to go up and build an altar to the Lord on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. And where is that? Mount Moriah. So, we have an unbroken, absolutely clear chain of events from Abraham and Isaac, to Jacob, to David, to Solomon. And they all saw the same thing. That's where we're going to build God's house, because that's where God's house is. It's Moriah. Moriah. What is Yah? God's name. Yah, we'll see. Yehovah, Yireh. The Lord will see. So it was already named Moriah. It was already named Adonai Yireh. So Abraham just said, okay, well, let's make that a little clearer. Let's call it Adonai Yireh. Make it super clear. So what happened there? Abraham set up the altar there with his son Isaac. Isaac also set up the altar. Yitzhak offered himself on the altar there. Jacob set up the altar there, the Mizbeach, the stone, and built an altar there later. Solomon built the temple there. We have an unbroken chain of these things. Now look at this. These are not my words. These are from some modern day, I believe he's conservative, but he might be reformed. But his words are fantastic. He says, this is from Rabbi David Stavsky at a High Holy Day sermon. Where is the place that Yaakov slept? The Hebrew word used in this verse is bamakom, upon the place, and not bimakom. Why does it say bamakom instead of bimakom? upon a place. So if you said just some generic place, it would be bimakom. But he doesn't say that. He says bamakom. So that's like squishing together the word the into it. So he, upon the place. The use of the definite article means this refers to the most important spot in the entire world. As Rabbi Stavsky said, Yaakov came upon the place where Jacob's father Isaac and his grandfather Abraham had built an altar. The place where Isaac was bound to the altar, the place which for centuries has bound us, just like Isaac was bound, tied us to God. Hamakom, the place, was Mount Moriah, eventually to become the heart and soul of Jerusalem. And it was as if a magnet had drawn young Jacob to wander the hot Mesopotamian desert that night to that particular place. Remember, he says, God is in this place, and what does he say? I did not know it. Why? Nobody told him. Somehow, nobody told him. Or he didn't know where it was, because nobody told him. Which is kind of weird, because he studied Torah in the tents of Shem for years and years and years, and he was with his father Isaac, and he was with his grandfather Abraham. They never told him where Hamakom was? They never told him that that's God's house? He didn't know. And so how did he get there? Just like this guy. I love the way he says it. Like a magnet drew him to Jerusalem. Just like a magnet. And it wasn't Jerusalem yet. But God drew him there like a magnet to that particular place, Makom. And dear friends, I dare say that whatever force pulled Jacob to that place that night pulls you and me to that place, to Jerusalem. It is a deep, mystical pull. It is holiness. It is holiness. Do you know they have homosexual synagogues? Synagogues that are totally homosexual. Do you know how they have churches? Well, you probably know this. Churches that are completely homosexual churches. And they worship God and they talk about God and all, but they're all missing, and they talk about social justice, all these wonderful things. But they miss one thing, holiness. However, the word for homosexual temple worshiper, guess what it is? Kodesh, holiness. Why? Because when the Jews wandered in the desert, they didn't wander for long. They only wandered for a year, and then they went to Kodesh, Kadesh. And they were there for 38 years, and it was the most unholy, disgusting place in the world. Modern-day Petra. They were there for 38 years, being homosexuals for Yehovah. And that's why God destroyed them. Well, ever after, in the book of Leviticus, the book of Deuteronomy, book of Bemidbar, Numbers, you can see that the homosexual temple worshipers were called Kodeshim. And it's kind of a mocking term. It's not to be taken like, oh, we need to be like them, they're holy. They were holy to the devil, but the one thing lacking in the body of Messiah is Kodeshim, holiness, Kodesh. And what is Kodesh? Judaism, which draws the Jew to Jerusalem like a magnet. And that's why believers are turning to it, because God is drawing them like a magnet to Judaism, to holiness. Well, God did the same thing with Jacob. Now I want you to look at this illustration. Hold on. Yes? Come on. Okay, then wait until you do, please, because I got to get it on camera. All right, when you got it, let me know. Look at the illustration. You can see the ladder is not a ladder. Well, it is a ladder, but it's a twisted ladder. I mean, it looks like a DNA strand on purpose. A DNA strand looks like a ladder. If you smoothed it out instead of the twist in it, it would look exactly like a ladder. That's what a DNA strand looks like. It has 23 pairs of chromosomes. Chromosomes. Yes? 23 pairs of chromosomes. That's 46. And there's a whole study about the gematria of 46 that I'm not going to do because I'm going to keep the teaching short. But there's 23 pairs of chromosomes. One on one side of the ladder, one on the other side of the ladder. And then they're twisted. But that doesn't make it not a ladder. It's still a ladder. And it's twisted on purpose, which I'll show you. It's twisted on purpose. What he sees is a ladder going up to heaven. I'm calling it a ladder and not something else because that's what it is in Hebrew, which I'll show you. And it goes in a spiral up to heaven. Jerusalem above. You have Jerusalem below, matching Jerusalem above. And that's what Abraham and Isaac and Jacob saw. We are right underneath heaven, Jerusalem, which is going to be Jerusalem in the future. We're right above it. And what connects it? A ladder. And going up and down on the ladder is angels. So, we have that at that place where the ladder is connecting to heaven, we have that it's already called Moriah, sight or seeing of Yah, of God. And we also have that it's called Hamakom. Even from way back with Abraham, it's called Hamakom. Well, now he says, I will set my name at Hamakom. And he's very specific about it. And these are all the verses. They're all in Deuteronomy except for one in Kings. They're all in Deuteronomy except for one in Kings, which all say the same thing. I'm going to choose a place, Jews, and I'm going to put my name there. And it's called Hamakom. We'll just look at a couple. The first one. It shall come about that Hamakom in which the Lord your God will choose for his name to dwell. He's going to stick his name on Hamakom. Let's look at Deuteronomy 16. You shall rejoice before the Lord your God at Hamakom, where the Lord your God chooses to establish his name. Straight up, God says, I'm going to put my name on Hamakom. We know exactly where the temple is to be. We know exactly where Jerusalem is to be. We've known since Abraham. Deuteronomy 26, you shall take some of the first of the produce of the ground. You shall put it in a basket. You shall go to Hamakom, where the Lord your God chooses to establish his name. All right, they're all in Deuteronomy except for this one in Kings, talking about the building of the temple. 1 Kings 8, so your eyes may be open. This is Solomon praying. God, let your eyes be open toward this house, night and day, toward Hamakom, of which you have said, my name will be there. To listen to the prayer which your servant will pray toward Hamakom Hazeh, this place. So, there is zero doubt that Hamakom is the place of the temple. It's the place of the altar of the temple. There's no doubt that that's where God put his name, and that's no doubt that that's where David built the altar, and there's no doubt that that's where Solomon built the temple. Unbroken chain. So now we come back to the picture. There's a ladder set up like a DNA. I'm saying it's like a DNA strand, and I'll show you why I say this. I say this because that's what was in the temple. Now, the weird thing about this word ladder, sulam, say sulam. Say sulam. Not like shalom, not like salom, salam aleikum. Salam aleikum, it's a different word. This is with a samech, not a shin or a sin. Sulam. It only appears one time in the whole Bible in this story. Only one time. This is big. This is a big deal. If something shows up one time in the Bible, that is a huge anomaly. Huge anomaly. It's like a flashing red light. Stop. Look at this. Look at it. Concentrate on it. It only shows up once. Now the word sulam, what it says in Hebrew here is sulam mutzav artsa. Sulam, a ladder. Mutzav was commanded, if you like that word, set up So why isn't it commanded? It's the word tzav, like matzeva, like setting up that stone that he set up, matzeva, an altar. It's the same word. So why isn't it translated command? Because there's no such thing as commandments. It's set up. Sulam mutzav arza. The ladder was set up on earth. Now, a sulam, the word sulam only shows up once. It comes from the word salal, which can mean two opposite things. It can mean to lift up, to exalt, to raise up, to mound up, like the mounds that they put up against when they're besieging a city. That's this word, sulam, salam, salal, to lift up, to mound up, to get something high. But it can also mean something unstable that wavers to and fro, like a ladder. A ladder only has 2 points. You stick it on the ground, maybe it'll stay, maybe it won't. You hope it does. But it's unstable. It's not a stable thing, it's an unstable thing. And the higher you go, the more unstable it is. I know this because I did roofing. It's terrifying. You go up on a really, really tall ladder, like as tall as this roof, it is terrifying because you know how unstable it can be. So it can mean that. Salal means like, unstable, waving to and fro. But it can also mean to oppose oneself, like a mound, like I'm lifting myself up against you. Salal. And it only appears once in the Tanakh. Now, why is this important? It's important because the only other twisting, DNA-looking ladder is in the temple. And guess what? That word only shows up one time. It's a different word. So we have a sulam from salal, but now we have another word. It says, the door for the middle chamber was in the right side of the house, and they went up with winding stairs, like a spiral staircase, like a sulam, like a DNA strand, a winding ladder. Winding stairs, uv lulim, this is a different word, into the middle chamber and out of the middle into the third. Now, if you look on the cutaway of the temple, you can see 3 levels. Bottom, middle, upper. It's just like a hotel. When you go onto the second or third story of a hotel, how do you get there? You get those winding stairs. You go up a little bit, turn, go up, winding, turn, go up, winding, turn. Okay, that is this word in Hebrew. It's lul, which means like a tube, like a constrained thing that turns on itself. Just like a ladder is only showing up once, lul only shows up one time in the whole Bible. And it's the same exact thing. It's a ladder to heaven. It's in the temple, in God's house, in Beit El. God's house is Beit El, yeah? Yeah? This is in God's house, Beit El. Here's a picture of one of them. Can you see the winding staircase, the winding ladder? Can you see it? Hello? Can you see it? I don't know if it's a clear picture. Can you see it? It's right here. You can see it? Okay, hold on. So this is the winding staircase that's for the high priest only to go up to change his garments during Yom Kippur. But that's only one that was in the temple. There were more. The more are in 1 Kings 6:8. Just like a hotel, to get up to the second floor, you take a winding staircase. To get up to the third floor, you take another winding staircase. Yes? Yes, very good. Thank you for saying that. The sulam was a spiritual ladder. You saw it in spiritual form going up to heaven. And lul was the picture on earth. Very good. The picture on earth of that spiritual ladder. The lul, or lulim, plural, here's a picture of it. In the in the third temple. This is in the third temple, which hasn't come. But this was also in Solomon's temple and the second temple. It's spiral staircases, lulim, that go up to the second floor and then up to the third floor. And so, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Yes, that's why it's important that it only shows up once. Both words only show up once. So it's like stops us and goes, wow, only once? That's important. Well, there's another thing that's exactly the same picture, only shows up once, and that's why. That's right. So, the temple, now think about this. You go around people in a normative Christian setting, and you say, oh, I can't wait for the temple to be rebuilt. And they look at you like you're out of your mind. Well, here's why I can't wait for the temple to be built. There's hundreds and hundreds of these pictures in the temple. Hundreds. Probably thousands that I don't even know about. But I know about hundreds of them. And I can't wait. I mean, guys, can you imagine like going up that spiral staircase up to the second floor and then the third floor? How many heavens are there? Nope. Three. There's 3 heavens. Why? Because God's house has 3 stories. 1, 2, 3. That's why it has 3 stories. And I mean, I just can't wait to actually see and experience the real pictures in physical form. And this is why. Now here's what it says in Hebrew in Ezekiel 41 to describe the kingdom temple lulim. The side chambers, like the apartments that go all the way around the house in 3 levels, the side chambers were broader as they encompassed the house higher and higher. Gets bigger as you go up, higher and higher. Not smaller like a ladder. Not like what we would do. We'd make things get smaller as they go higher because it's more stable. This is the opposite. They get bigger as they go up. And here's what it says, as literal as I can get it. For the turning around of the house went higher and higher around the house. Doesn't that sound like a spiral staircase? That's why it's a spiral staircase. Now here's what it says in Hebrew. Listen to it. Close your eyes and listen. Hope I don't mess this up. Ki musav habeit למעלה למעלה, סביב סביב לבית. כי מוסב הבית, למעלה למעלה, סביב סביב לבית. Doesn't that sound like a song? With the repetition in it? Why is it like that? You can look at me now. Why is it like that? It's going around and around, up and up and up, like a tornado, like the Spirit of God in the whirlwind. Yes? Very good. Our roots are in heaven in Judaism. They're not on earth. Our roots are in heaven. And a tree, maybe you don't know this, but the root system is bigger than what's on top, especially on some trees. And so you have this huge root system in heaven. And so our feet are in heaven. We're upside down, just like our birth, just like our resurrection, upside down, like a breech birth, sort of. All righty? Around and around, up and up and up. That's how the temple is built. And how are you going to show that except by a spiral staircase? So, now we're going to go back to what I taught last week and tie it together. The whole purpose of last week's teaching was this. Inside the body of believers are 2 kingdoms, Jacob and Esav. Jacob is Judaism, Esav is Hellenism, Rome. Or we could say, and I don't want you to get offended because you can prove this by study, normative Christianity. Inside every believer are two kingdoms, and they are fighting tooth and nail, and they will never, never stop. They will never stop. So how hard do we have to be? Our enemy is never going to stop. Never going to stop. And they know every trick in the book, and they never stop using them. Eileen and I love this show. So does Robert. Love this show. You can see it on Peacock. We used to be able to watch it on TV. We don't do that anymore. It's called Yellowstone. And this whole show is about this principle. If you love your family and you love God, you got to be so hard. You got to be absolutely heartless. Heartless, merciless to the enemy who are trying to kill your family and your way of life. And then you stop being heartless and you go be with your family and you show so much love that it makes you cry every day. And that's what this show is all about. And when we first started watching it, I was like, God, that's hard. Why are you being so heartless? And as the show goes on, it opens up, it gets clearer and clearer and clearer. You have to be, right? Why? Because the enemy is never going to stop. And let me say this again. You have Judaism against Hellenism. And Hellenism is never going to stop bashing on you. So you got to be heartless, merciless toward it. Do you hear what I'm saying? This is going to freak you out. That's what love is. When God took his people, his babies, into Israel, and there's Canaanites and Jebusites and all those other demon-worshiping people, God said, wipe them out, women and children included. But God is love. God, yeah, babies in the womb too, that is correct. God is love. And he said, wipe everybody out. Because if you don't, they're going to come get you. And they're going to kill your children. You got to be merciless toward it. Jacob understood this. His mommy understood this, Rachel. So she said, run! Your brother's coming to kill you. Run! So he did. And when he came back, he took care of what needed to be taken care of. So we're going to go back to what I taught last week. This verse in Genesis 25:23. Kingdom would become mightier than the other kingdom. Kingdom will become mightier than the other kingdom. In other words, one will get big, the other one will get small. And then that one will get big, and the other one will get small. And then that one will get big, and the other one will get small. Back and forth for the rest of your life on earth. For the rest of the life of the Jewish people on earth. It's going to be fighting against one kingdom. You'll win, then you'll lose, then you'll win, then you'll lose, then you'll win, then you'll lose, then you'll finally win. And so Rashi says about this verse, they will not be equal in greatness. When one rises, the other will fall. And that's why Scripture says, I shall become full from the destroyed city. We looked at all this last week, that this was Hasatan, the king of Tyre, the king of Babylon. They're all the same dude, Hasatan. And the only time he gets full and satisfied is when he destroys Judaism. And so Judaism, you got to rise up and you got to fight. Get what I'm saying? When it's time to sing, you sing. When it's time to dance, you dance. When it's time to pray, you pray. When it's time to speak, you speak. That's how we fight. Do what Jews do. All right. Now, just to refresh your memory, these two statements that prove to us that, quote, Christianity is based in, is rooted in, is at its essence Rome. These are not my words. This is not my doctrine. This is not my statements. This is the entirety of Judaism speaking. This summed up in encyclopedias. Encyclopedia of Jewish Symbols. Edom, the nation supposedly descended from Esav, was also a symbol for Israel's eternal enemy. The Romans destroyed the second. Herod, the despised agent of Rome, was an Edomite. When Rome embraced Christianity, doesn't matter what you believe, that's fact. Rome embraced Christianity. Rome embraced Christianity in 323, I think, with Constantine. I believe it was 323. You can correct me on that. Más o menos, yeah. Rome embraced Christianity, and ever after, Edom became a symbol. A symbol. What's another word for symbol? Picture. It's not odiot, different word. I'll show you. And then for Christianity in general. Here's the other one, the other statement. The name Esav is used as an eponym for Rome. And in medieval Hebrew literature, any anti-Jewish regime, Christianity in particular. Why? Because it was the only anti-Jewish regime. Christian Europe, it filled the whole earth. They were in control. They had all the power. And so they looked at that. They looked at what they said. They looked at how they worshiped. They looked at all the things about their religion and saw Rome. We got to fight. Now, why am I bringing this up? Here's why. A sulam, the ladder that goes up to God, what did Jacob see on it? God on it, on the top, but what else did he see on it? Malachim, angels, what? Up and down or down and up? Which way? Ascending and descending. Why are they ascending first? Where are they if they're ascending first? They're on earth. They're on earth. They're not in heaven coming down. They're on earth going up. And then others come down. And then they go up. And then others come down. Now this is really, really important. All the rabbis say about this is one thing which is very confusing. They say, remember, Jacob's on his way out of Israel. Yes? He's leaving. So the angels that are in Israel are departing. They're going up the ladder to go away. And others are coming down. The ones that are more appropriate for him, because he ain't in Israel anymore. Tomorrow, he's going to be gone, out of Israel. And all these other angels, what does that mean? Angels of Syria. Angels of the family of Lavan, the demon worshiper, his father-in-law. Angels of Nahor and Haran and Ur and Padan Aram and Syria and Assyria and all these other demonic areas he's going to. So there are other angels that are going to be helping. Because the ones that were helping, they can't help. They're only for Israel. And you can believe that or not believe it, but I'll show you in the Bible that this is a principle that's true. So you can apply it or not apply it. It's up to you. But I'll show you in the scriptures how this works. Daniel chapter 10. This is showing that some angelic powers rise and some fall. In the 3rd year of Koresh, king of Persia, a message was revealed to Daniel. It concerned great conflict. By the way, it goes on for another 2 chapters. 2 full chapters. And then another one that's not a full chapter. That's 3 chapters. Biggest prophecy in the whole Bible. And he says it's about great conflict. It's about the birth pangs. But it's also about a time coming close to the time of Daniel. The time of the Maccabees. The time of the Maccabees. A message was revealed to Daniel. It concerned great conflict. Then he said to me, "Don't be afraid, Daniel, because from the very first day that you set your heart on understanding and on humbling yourself." Now what he'd done was, it says he prayed and fasted for 21 days. And the very first day he started praying, the angel went to go talk to him. So then why does he have to keep praying for 21 days? He tells us why. Because he's fighting. The angels are fighting demons. From the very first day that you started praying, humbling yourself, your words were heard, and I came in response to your words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia, who is that? It's not a human. It's an angel. It's a demon. It's an angel. Over the entire kingdom of Persia. It was fighting with me. He was standing in my way like a salal to heap up against somebody. He has salaled himself in front of me and I couldn't get to you. I've been fighting for 21 days. I couldn't get here. For 21 days. Then, behold, Michael. Now, Michael is the angel over Israel. He is the angel appointed over Israel. We know that from Daniel chapter 10, verse 1 and 2. It tells us this. So Michael is the angel over the entirety of Israel. And so then Michael shows up and he starts fighting. Yeah. One of the chief princes came to help me because I'd been left there with the kings of Persia. Now, why is he telling him this stuff? It's in this context. This idol was given to Daniel, shown to Daniel about Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Nebuchadnezzar dreamed about this idol back in chapter 2. And then in chapter 7, he starts getting messages about Babylon and Medo-Persia and Greece. And then in chapter 8, he gets more messages about the same thing. Now in chapter 9, he's fasted and prayed for 21 days, and he starts getting these huge images and scriptures and prophecies about the day of the Lord. And so, in this huge prophecy, he brings back the idol. And in this idol was kingdoms that would rise and fall, just like the ladder. Babylon would come, the head of gold, then Medo-Persia, the arms and chest of silver, and then the loins, the sexual parts, and the belly is Greece. The sexual parts and the belly, where the emotions are, is Greece. Bronze. And then the legs of iron, which nothing can break, is Rome. And it's the biggest kingdom. It's the biggest part of the body. Yeah? In the idol, what's the biggest part of the body? Hello? The legs. That's why it's Rome. It still is here. It's never gone away. It's gone on for 3,000 years almost. 2,500 years. It's gone on. And then comes Rome revised in the day of the Lord. It's still not gone. So you think you're going to pray your little prayers? We think we're going to pray to the Lord with our little prayers and change things? Listen to me. People spend their time on a merry-go-round, wasting time studying, don't get the vaccine for COVID. And, they're changing the DNA structure in the food. And 666 equals Vav, 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 and you can see it in the barcodes. And all this other nonsense, instead of talking about the one enemy we should talk about, Hellenism. It's all a smokescreen, all of it, every bit of it. Unless it is tied to the enemy that we're supposed to be fighting. Edom, Esav, Rome, Hellenism. That's our fight. Anything else you want to study, it's fluff. Because it's not going to teach you how to fight Hellenism. The only thing I ever talk about, the only thing I ever study in the scriptures is the pictures. And they help me fight Hellenism. And that's why I'm so, focused on it. Because I don't want to get distracted with nonsense. It doesn't help. I've been through every movement, every ism that has come with the body of Messiah for 42 years. And the only thing I see that works is Judaism. Period. I've seen it all. We say this every year at Passover. We say it every year. Kingdoms rise, kingdoms fall, kingdoms rise, kingdoms fall, kingdoms rise, kingdoms fall, but we stay Jews. We say it every year at Passover. On this page, Vayhi. And it is this that has sustained our fathers. For it has not been a single person that has arisen against us to destroy us, but from generation to generation, in turn, they have arisen to destroy. Yet the Holy One, blessed be He, constantly delivers us from their hands. Who is He delivering us from? Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, and then in the day of the Lord, Rome again. 7 kingdoms. And they come and they go, but we're still Jews. But we're still Jews. So, the sulam is the ladder to God. And there's lots of Christian sites and Messianic sites, you can go read them on the internet, that say, Christ is the ladder. Well, that's absolutely not true and true at the same time. Christ is not the ladder, Messiah is. Messiah is the ladder. He said he was the ladder. Kingdoms come, kingdoms go. Kingdoms rise, kingdoms fall. And you know what? Yeshua said that He was the ladder on which kingdoms rise and kingdoms fall, and kingdoms rise and kingdoms fall. He said it. Luke 2:34, Shimeon blessed them and said to his mother Miriam, look, this child, the Messiah, is appointed for the rise and fall of many in Israel. Well, what does that mean? Kingdoms coming up, kingdoms coming down. People coming up, people coming down. And it's all dependent on Mashiach, on Messiah. All of it. Because those angels are going to come up and they're going to come down on Messiah. And if you don't think that's going to happen in your life, you're wrong. The more Judaism you do, the easier it is to fight those angels, those demons. The less Judaism you do, you are going to be lost in it. And you're going to hear one person praying this, and one person praying that, and one preacher saying this, and one preacher preaching that, and it's going to confuse the heck out of you. But if you're focused on one thing, not Christ, Judaism and Edom. Judaism and Edom fighting with each other. What defines one and what defines the other? You will have a crystal clear idea of what's good and what's bad. Crystal clear. Sometimes I feel like I need to shoot myself in the eye with a gun because things are so clear to me and people around me say the stupidest stuff. Hellenistic junk. And it just makes me want to tear my hair out because I teach and I teach and I teach and I teach and it's still like fuzzy, like, I can't see it. Because you don't do. You got to do. When it's time to talk, you talk. When it's time to yell, you yell. When it's time to cry, you cry. When it's time to share, you share. When it's time to dance, you dance. When it's time to sing, you sing. You do what the Jews do. And the more you do it, the easier it gets to do. Or you will fall. I've fallen many times. You will fall. And then, in John, Yeshua came right on and said, He's the ladder. Nathanael answered him, Rabbi, you're the Son of God, the Ben Elohim. You're the Melech Yisrael, the King of Israel. Yeshua said, he doesn't go, thank you, Nathanael, that I am. He says, you get all impressed because I said I saw you under the fig tree? That's what turns you on? That's what impresses you? Are you kidding me? You're going to see bigger stuff than that, dude. And if you don't hear him saying it like that, you're wrong. He's mocking him. He's not going, oh, Nathanael, thou art blessed of the Lord. Thou shalt see greater than this. He's mocking him. That's what makes you happy, that I said I saw you under the fig tree? I prophesied a little to you. Woo! Because I said to you, I saw you under the fig tree, that's what makes you believe? You're going to see greater stuff than this. You're going to see. Who saw heaven open and the angel of God ascending and descending on the Son of God? Who saw that? He says he's going to see it. He says Nathanael's going to see it. What is he telling Nathanael? You're going to be a Jew. Jacob, you're going to be a Jew. I'm going to Judaize you. You're going to be a Jew, just like Jacob. And you're going to see the rise and the fall of kingdoms. And you're going to see the whole plan. Now, here's why I'm saying this. I'm saying it because of this amazing teaching that I saw on the Chabad site. Remember, we have Sulam is a ladder. But if you change the letters, the order of the letters, you don't have Salam, you have Samal. If you put the Lamed before the Mem, it's Sulam. If you switch and you put the Mem before the Lamed, it's Samal. And I never knew this my whole life, that Samal means, Semel means symbol. That's how you say symbol in Hebrew. Semel. It's the same word as idol. I knew it as idol, like the idol of jealousy, the abomination of desolation, is the semel hakina, the idol of jealousy, the image of jealousy, the likeness of jealousy. You know what it is? It's the word simile. This is where the Gentiles get the word simile. Semel, simile, similitude, similar. A simile means like this, like a thing. Isn't that what Judaism is? It's a metaphor, it's a simile. The sulam is just like what was the word? Lul. Yeah? And the lul is just like the sulam. And this thing in Judaism is just like this thing in heaven. And this thing in Shabbat is just like the kingdom. It's a symbol. It's a simile. It's a metaphor. And this woman says, this is what makes us become better people. Judaism as pictures, as symbols, is what makes us better people. I'll show you how this works. She says, life presents us with various transitions, changes, that challenge the status quo of our comfort levels. We may find ourselves at a crossroads, recognizing the need for change, for personal change, but unsure of which road to take, unequipped to navigate the unfamiliar journey ahead. How do we fight the feeling of uncertainty and vulnerability that can confront us along the way? When navigating an unknown terrain or transition, you got two choices. You can cross over that transition by a bridge, or you can take a ladder. That's your two choices. You can stay on the same level and go from this part of your life to that part of life and stay the same idiotic person, or you can go up and become a different person and face that challenge and that new part of your life as a different person. That's Judaism, and that's what she says. This is amazing to me. She says, when navigating an unknown terrain or transition, there's two choices. You can cross over it by bridging the gap from point A to point B, or transcend it, go above it. Often, the image of a bridge is used to represent passing from one part of your life to the next part of your life. I crossed the bridge and I'm doing something different now. I used to be a Messianic rabbi. Now I'm an art teacher. But I'm still the same old jerk. That's what most people do. Now look at this. Yet while we are changing our place, we are not necessarily being changed or changing ourselves, which Christianity does not encourage, but Judaism does. While remaining at the same altitude, how high or low are you? While remaining at the same altitude, we cannot transcend our present state of being or perspective. You keep doing things the same way, you're going to keep seeing it the same way, and you're going to keep having the same result. But if you go above it, if you climb up and become better, climb up by doing Judaism and become a different person, you'll look at it differently. You got to do something different. We're either, I love this phrase. Wait. In contrast, while ascending or descending on a ladder, rung by rung, we change our altitude, our height, incrementally. We're either, I love this phrase. I've said this for years and years and years, but I love the way she says it better. We are either moving up or down, never remaining static. Our problem is that we're remaining static. Our problem, in whatever our problem is because we're remaining static. We are not moving forward and we're not moving backward. We keep doing the same thing. Got to do something different. You got to let Judaism teach you something different. You got to challenge yourself in Judaism with something different, or else you're going to stay just where you are. This is written by a woman, Katya Balotin, from Chabad.org. Awesome. Katya Balotin. This I couldn't quite get my head around. The very last phrase took me I had to read it like 6 times to understand it. You're smarter than I am. You'll probably get it quick. Our vantage point either broadens as we go up the ladder or it narrows as we come down. Yeah, you look at it and go, yeah, that's obvious. I had to read it 6 times to figure that out. Well, I know, but it's got big words in it. Right? All right. Yes, ma'am. Yes. And the rooms on the first level are smaller. Go up the second level, rooms are bigger. Go up the third level, rooms are even bigger. Exactly right. Now, the word semel means an image, a figure, a likeness, an idol, and I cannot believe I never knew this. Just go on Google Translate and type in symbol. Semel. Semel means symbol. Just amazing to me. Now, in the New Testament, in Greek, the word that's translated tavniot in Hebrew, tavnit, picture or pattern, in Greek is tupos. Tupos. It comes from tupto, which means to beat into or pummel into metal to make an image. To beat, to pummel, figuratively to punish. This is in Greek, the word for picture or pattern. It beats us into another image. If it's not beating you into another image, there's something wrong. If you're not changing, it's because you're not doing. You're not singing when it's time to sing. You're not praying when it's time to pray. You're not dancing when it's time to dance. You're not doing when it's time to do. You're not changing. Yes, musar means discipline. And it's exactly the same concept. Judaism musars us. It tuptos us. It beats into us another image. But that's only if you do it. It's only if you do it. If you don't do it, what's the alternative? Christianity. That is the alternative. You may make faces and stuff like that, but why are you doing it then? Why, when you're told to jump, you don't jump? When Judaism says it's time to kneel, you kneel. Why aren't you kneeling? When Judaism says it's time to sing, why aren't you singing? Because Hellenism's got you by the throat. And you don't want to. You don't feel like it. You're not going to be told what to do. That's Hellenism. That resistance, that salal, coming up against like a mound, that's Hellenism. But you're doing it. I do it too. I do it too. I just try not to do it during services. And with my wife. Because then everything falls apart. But I do it too. It's Hellenism. Now, these are my words. You can take this or throw it in the trash. This is in my pictures book. Many of you have thrown these words in the trash, figuratively speaking. But these are important words. I hate quoting myself. I just hate it because it feels like, these are my words and I'm here to tell you my word. I hate that. I would rather quote somebody else. But these are incredibly precise about what I'm talking about. Christianity focuses on moral values. Would you agree with that? That it focuses on morality and moral values and ethics. Don't do this, do this, be nice, be kind, show love like our Christ. Yeah? Those are moral values. And general principles of kindness, mercy, godliness. All wonderful things. But unfortunately, these have proven too nebulous, too fuzzy, to affect a great deal of change. Why am I saying this? I've been around for 42 years watching it. That's why. People don't change in Christianity. They just don't. They don't change. They may change a little bit, but they don't change who they are from the inside. They don't change their brain. They don't change their heart. They just keep doing the same thing and trying to make it better on the surface. Now, here's what I say. The reason this may be is because there's nothing to clearly contrast to measure oneself against except a perfect, loving, ethereal, ghost man, Christ. And we're constantly comparing ourselves to that? You're not going to change. You're just going to go, oh, I can't do that. And nothing will change. And who can live up to that? Biblical Judaism, on the other hand, causes an almost instantaneous moral change. But not because it teaches morals. Judaism, as a set of metaphors or symbols, can provide us the opportunity through the cycle of the Jewish year to focus on our hearts, on our motives, on our yetzer. I don't care if we celebrate Hanukkah at all. I don't care. I care if Hanukkah changes us. I don't care if we have bread and wine on Shabbat. I don't care. I care if the bread and the wine changes us. It's a symbol. How does it change you? It should. I don't care. I don't care about any of it. I don't care about the prayers. I don't care about the tzitzit. I don't care about kippah. I don't care about any of it unless it talks to us. Then I care. I don't want to get wrapped up in all the garbage like Martha did. Will you please tell Miriam to stop, like to help me. I need help. I need her to stop listening to you teach, and I need her to come help me with the food. We got to get this food going. We got to get the oven heated up, and we got to get the food going for Oneg. Come on, Yeshua. I don't give a good me. That's good, right? Because it's Yeshua talking. I don't give a good me if she does or not. I don't care. She's got the good stuff. Listening to the Torah. What are you doing running around? That's what I care about. It causes an almost instantaneous moral change because it gives us opportunity through Judaism, through the year, to change. That's what it's for. It gives us opportunity through the Jewish year to focus on our hearts, our motives, our yetzer, our intention. Though it may feel somewhat uncomfortable, face to face, that means like looking at ourselves and then looking at other people face to face, gives us the impetus to do tikkun, which means repair. To repair what is damaged or undone within us. I don't care about celebrating Hanukkah. I care about talking during Hanukkah with each other, face to face. That's what I care about. It gives us the impetus to do tikkun, to repair what is damaged or undone within us. This is the direction that Judaism as pictures takes us. Not bondage, but repair. The lifestyle of Judaism as pictures leads to being honest with ourselves. I learned this by trial and error, by study of Judaism, by observing the changes that took and take place in myself, my family, and friends that have chosen to walk the biblical cycle of Judaism. And if you're not changing, you ain't one of them. You're not one of them if you're not changing. If you are changing because of Judaism, you're one of those people I'm talking about here. That I observe, I see it. Wow, you didn't used to be like that. What happened to you? God talked to me through Judaism. Awesome. But if that's not happening, you ain't one of them. The numerous festivals, fasts, new moons, and Shabbats are stops in a cyclical journey at which to be involved in some spiritual exercise, and it occurs every year. So, I'm begging you, when it's time to say the prayers, say them out loud. We go over and over and over and over and over something, and you still don't say it. You're not going to change. You're not. I'm standing here watching you not change, if that's what you're doing. You hear me? Yes? No? Yes. You got to put some effort in. If you do, you will change. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Happened with me. So, you're going to go up, you're going to come down. You're going to go up, you're going to come down. And it's Judaism that determines if you go up or down. But what you cannot do and will never do is stay stagnant. You're going to go backwards. You're not going to be stagnant. You're either going forward or backward, up or down. You don't get up on a ladder and just stand there on the ladder. I mean, like halfway up. Okay, keep going. No, I'm just staying here. Nowhere to go but up or down. You get what I'm saying? That's the sulam. That's why it appears only once, because it's a picture to how to get to God. We want to know God. We want to get to God. You've got to climb. You've got to fight. So, this Hanukkah season, don't let it get by you. Grab it. Start learning about how to fight Hellenism in here, in your brain, because that's where it all takes place, in your brain. It doesn't get to your heart till it starts in your thinking. Once it's gotten to your thinking, then you start dealing with it, and you start feeling it, and it starts changing you. Okay? But it starts with your thinking. Don't let Hanukkah get by you this year. Okay? Let's pray. Thank you, Abba, for the sulam, the ladder. There's only one. There's only one way. Only one way to get up to heaven. That's the Messiah. That's the Torah and the Ruach and doing the symbols. I thank you, Abba. I thank you so much that you've shown us your symbols, your pictures, your types, your shadow. And I ask that you keep revealing more and more, not for our brain, but for us to change and become more and more like Jacob. So we don't just get all happy and freaked out about a little miracle, but we get happy and freaked out about actually being like Jacob, where we can see Hamakom, we can see it, we can experience it, and we know that we've heard from you. In the name of Yeshua, amen. Shabbat Shalom. Let's do Kiddush, please.